So in this holiday news update, we're going to talk about a couple of taxing issues facing holidaymakers coming into Mallorca this summer. Now, I'm going to talk about firstly the tourist tax or the eco tax, and then I'm going to give you an update about the ETIAS visa as well, which is due to come in later on this year. I will also talk about what the queues are like at the airport, plus how you can get the best value when booking your holiday this summer, and why you need to check if your passport is up for renewal. Now, I'm down here in the very beautiful Santa Ponsa on a very sunny but cool afternoon. We're going to take a walk now towards the beach, and I am on the west side of the beach here, but we're going to head off in this direction. We're going to get some nice views, and I'm going to give you this travel news update and let you know everything that you need to know before you come into the islands this summer. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the tourist tax. Now, the last thing you're going to expect when you land on the island, when you check in for your hotel, is being asked to pay even more money for your already, well, extremely expensive holiday this year. Because as I can appreciate, costs have rocketed for a summer holiday for summer 2023, and these prices are going to keep going up as we go towards the summer. Now, it's also a little bit unfortunate that it's possibly the worst welcome that you can get, that when you're checking in for your hotel accommodation, that you are going to be asked to pay a tourist tax on top of your stay. Now, this tax is going to be in addition to whatever you've paid for your holiday, so even if you're arriving here on an all-inclusive break, you're still going to have to pay that tax. But how much are you going to have to pay? So even if you're coming to stay in a youth hostel, you're still going to have to pay around €1 per person per night. If you're staying in a really high-end hotel, then that's going to go up to €4 per person per night. Now, when we stayed in the BQ Delphine Azul Hotel in Alcudia last summer, I paid €3 per night for that stay. My daughter didn't, of course, have to pay any tourist tax because any tourist tax is only for adults over the age of 16. So just bear that in mind if you're putting cash aside for your break. However, don't forget though that it's not just the €3 per night that you have to pay. You also have to pay tax on top of the tax. So these tourist tax charges are subject to EVA, which is like VAT. So in reality, I actually paid around €3.30 for myself per night when I was staying in that hotel in Alcudia. So for a week's holiday, you're going to be possibly need to put back around €25, which is possibly the cost of a meal actually, just for that additional tourist tax. Now, you're probably wondering why you even need to pay this tourist tax. Well, it was set up originally as an eco tax, and it was set up to fund environmental projects on the island. But since the pandemic, we have later on found out that this tourist tax that has been raised hasn't actually gone on to fund environmental projects, but other cultural events on the islands and other projects too, which I'm not actually quite sure of, but that money is still being collected from visitors to the island. So just make sure that if you're budgeting for your holiday, that you do put that aside, and you can pay that on check-in when you come over here to the island. Now, it's not just holiday makers staying in hotels or youth hostels, it's also cruise passengers as well that are also going to be subject to this eco tax, to this tourist tax. And cruise passengers, even though you're staying on your boat, you're going to be paying €2 per person per night for that as well. But if you think this is unfair, then and you're planning to holiday somewhere else in Europe, then just please bear in mind that there's also a tourist tax in Germany and in Greece as well, and in many other countries too. So it's not just Spain that's doing it, so please don't think that you are just being ripped off here. You also have to pay tax in many other countries too. So this tourist tax is nothing new, and it has been around for quite a while, but holidaymakers are just not happy about it, and it's popped back into the press this week, and it has been a talking point, not least because holidaymakers are soon going to have to fork out even more money for their holiday, particularly if they're coming from countries such as the UK or the United States or Canada or Australia, in the form of the ETIAS visa, which is due to be implemented and due to come in force at the end of this year. Now, before I get onto the ETIAS visa, we're just coming up to the Globales Verdemar apartments here, and it does feel a lot like summer. It's already open and there are people staying here, and I can see that there are quite a few people in swimwear already. I have to just point out that I'm filming this in February. It is 14 degrees today. And I can actually see there's someone in the swimming pool this afternoon. As you can see, there are plenty of people lying out in the sun. Okay, so you may well have heard in the news this week all about the ETIAS visa waiver. Now, the ETIAS is not actually a visa. I've seen it misreported in some sources. It's actually a visa waiver scheme, and it's for countries such as the United Kingdom, who are no longer part of the European Union, for the United States and for Canada as well, to freely come into Europe, not needing a visa, of course, for this 90 days in 180 days. So it's going to allow free travel during that time over a 3-year basis. And this visa waiver, which you are going to need as well before you come here on holiday next summer, is going to cost around €7. Now, while there has been a lot of talk in the press about this coming in for this summer, it's not actually going to be launched until November 2023. So you're going to miss out on this summer, thank goodness. But if you are coming out in the winter, or you're planning to come out in the winter, then you may well need to get this visa waiver if you are coming from one of these countries outside of Europe. Now, I do have a very short article on my website. It does list all the countries that are currently within this ETIAS visa waiver scheme. It also lists as well countries which are outside the ETIAS visa waiver scheme as well, and you will need a separate tourism visa if you're coming to the island. So go ahead onto my website on MallorcaUnderthesun.com and go and check that out, and I'll drop the link in the description text below this video. Now, if you're wondering what the ETIAS actually stands for, it is the European Travel Information Authorisation System, and it's going to hopefully speed up queues at airports as well, and it's going to be combined with a brand new entry and exit system as well at airports, where you will be able to scan your biometric passport as well, and it'll be able to calculate how many days you have been in Europe too. So it's going to be a lot easier actually for you to keep a tally on how many days that you have spent in Europe if you do need this visa waiver. Now, we came through the airport just the other day, and while flights coming in from the UK are actually running through Terminal C at the moment, Terminal A will not open until April, I do believe, but the queues for passport control were absolutely horrific. Just for the Brits, I have to say, the residents and anyone holding residency cards or European passports were getting through these queues really, really quickly, but the queues for non-European visitors to the island were extremely long. So while it does seem really bad that you have to pay this €7 for 3 years of travel and not having to need a visa in the future, if it means speeding up these queues at the airports, then really it can only be a good thing. I'm just coming up past this little rocky beach over here in Santa Ponsa. You can see there are a few other locals sitting out and enjoying the sunshine here. This little beach actually is a really good option for the summer if the main beach does get too busy. Rarely has anybody on it. You can see the water here is super clear. So I'm just coming up to the Empathia restaurant here in Santa Ponsa. It's a little restaurant here right at the end of the beach. I can see it's open. Lots of people out enjoying a nice lunch this very, very sunny afternoon. But we're going to head on to the beach now and talk about if you have not booked your holiday for this summer and where you can probably find the very best value. Okay, so if you have not yet booked your holiday yet, is it better to book a package holiday, or is it better to self-package using low-cost airlines and accommodation booking separately? Well, I've been doing some research and I'm actually quite happy to say that I've seen some amazing value with some major tour operators, and we're talking about UK-based tour operators here, such as Jet2 and also with TUI as well. And I had a look at the Jet2 website, and you can still get a week's holiday with flights, transfers, accommodation, all in, including a massive luggage allowance for £650 per person, and that's for the last week of July, going to various areas all over the island as well. So I would say that is really good value. Now, it does seem to be about £100 more up on these costs than you would have maybe found last year, but all things considered, I still think that's actually going to be great value for a holiday. So if you are looking at self-packaging your holiday, then just bear in mind that if you are going to be booking separately on hotel accommodation sites, and that's hotel only accommodation sites, the chances are you're going to be paying a lot more for that week's stay. In fact, sometimes the prices are so expensive that it's actually cheaper to get that entire package holiday with your flights all in rather than booking separately on the hotel's own website. Now, this really isn't great news, particularly for us residents as well, looking to maybe get a break on the island this summer and getting away maybe to the east coast. It's going to be a lot more expensive even for us to try and get a break on our own island, which is just really crazy. But if you are tempted by those flight deals, then just make sure that you check out the accommodation first. Check out that you can get cheap accommodation to go with your cheap flight as well to make that purchase worthwhile. Okay, so my final reminder today is to go and check the validity of your passport, particularly if you're coming from the United Kingdom, because we all remember last year the absolute chaos that was in the passport offices with renewing passports. Now we're still in winter now, so this is the best time to get your passport renewed if you have to. Do not even be tempted to leave it till the last minute. Go and check it now. Go and see if it needs renewing, and then go and get it renewed. Now, if you want to find out more about whether your passport, particularly if you're coming from the UK, is still valid, then please go and check out this video appearing here on YouTube. If not, come and find me on the Facebook group and on my Instagram page, also called Mallorca Under the Sun. And do not forget to hit that subscribe button too. There'll be plenty more travel guides, travel news and holiday tips coming out to prepare you for your summer holiday this year. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Let me know if you have also already booked your holiday too in comments below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Goodbye for now.